There we are. Oh, whoa, what's going on here? This is way too close. What happened here? Hold on.
No, that's okay.
What's
That's better than having on my wall. Yeah.
No, look at my head. What's going on here? This is not the way it's supposed to be.
It's okay though. I don't mind that.
I don't know about that. Looking a little large here in terms of the frame. Not sure what happened there.
Well, you
Oh,
are.
you know what? I know what happened. There
All
we
right.
go. Boom. There we go.
Can you not go
Technical
halfway?
difficulty.
Can you not go halfway on that?
I don't think there's another halfway. I think that's it. It's either really close or a bit further away. So, apologize for the early technical difficulties here as we as we start to the show. Look at this. Mucha grande cabeza from Endo. Yeah, it was a pretty large face there, undoubtedly. Welcome back to Miami Total Football Radio, the show. Franco Panizo here, joined by Simon Evans, Ajicita, aka Andrea Llanes, and Island Jose, aka Jose Armando, busy with other duties at the start of this week. So it's just Simon and myself here. But Simon will have plenty of time then to not only share his analysis from this past weekend's game, but also to gloat a little bit with regards to Benjamin Kremaski, because Simon's been singing his praises while the rest of us have been a bit more lukewarm in our praise. But listen, Inter Miami won. Well, they tied, but they won the penalty kick shootout and they advanced to the quarterfinals of the Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
They will host Charlotte FC on Friday night, which we will preview that game as well. But a lot of the talking point here on this show will very likely be this past Sunday's game, which another spectacular finish from Inter Miami in terms of the regulation from Leo Messi. We'll dive into all of it. But first, let's see how Simon's doing. Simon, how are you, my friend? It's been a couple of days. Have you had time to decompress?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, no, it was a game you do need to decompress from because it was helter skelter. That second half especially was crazy. But we haven't had a dull moment, have we? I mean, since the arrival, the unveiling, every minute of soccer that's been on the field involving Inter Miami has been interesting, hasn't it? It's not all been top quality, but most of it's been exciting and interesting.
It has been interesting, and this game was, was played in Central Time Zone, so it was later than usual. And that final kick in the 80th, well, not the final kick, that final goal in regulation in the 85th minute came close to midnight, and I was watching it here with the family, which is a tradition of mine in terms of the road games. And I mean, my family are diehard Inter Miami fans, and they were jumping for joy. They made so much noise that my neighbor may or may not have, I won't say knocked on the door, but he might have, I'm on the second floor, so he may have,
giving it that one.
Hit the roof with the broomstick, yeah. I mean, my stepdad was jumping for joy. I mean, listen, I try to watch games from a very neutral point of view, as part of being an unbiased journalist, but even that goal, maybe even more so than the first one, I don't know. It definitely made my mouth drop because I was just like, wow, he did it again, man. Again, the first one, it was jaw dropping for sure. And it was impressive, no doubt about it. But then to see him do it again, albeit from a different angle in a different game, I mean, it's just, you start to take it for granted a little bit. I mean, how special Leo Messi is. I mean, Tata Martino talked about it after the game. We'll dive into that a little bit. But, Simon, what was your reaction when you saw the goal?
Yeah, it was, it was one of those moments. Again, though, like the first one, felt a little bit inevitable as well. I mean,
I didn't think he was going to do it again. You thought he was going to do it again? I was like, listen, free kicks are not easy to score on. I mean, and he had the dream story book finish against Cruz Azul. I just didn't think, I was like, look, of course, he has a chance, no doubt about it, but I just didn't think it was going to happen again. And it happened again.
He had the one just before, not long before anyway, it hit the wall as well. So, just to prove that he was human. But I think that was
after. That was after. That was when they could have won it.
Was it? Right, yeah.
Yeah, it was from further out and he hits the wall.
That's right. It was further out, quite a bit further out, wasn't it? Yeah. But no. I mean, the technique is just incredible to put it in the one place that the goalkeeper can't reach. I mean, really, half a yard, different angles, or it's just unbelievable the technique he has. I mean, I think Nico Estevez said afterwards, like he converts free kicks like other people convert penalties, and it was funny he said that because I was thinking when it came to penalty shootout, I was like, it feels like there's almost more chance of Messi missing this one than there is like not converting a penalty from a free kick from outside the box. Pretty amazing stuff from him. Pretty amazing.
Well, we'll talk about his overall performance there because, I mean, he played an integral part in Inter Miami advancing to the quarterfinals following a 4-4 draw on the road against FC Dallas. Let's just quickly jump into it. Because it's late-ish on a Tuesday night. I mean, some people are probably out for Taco Tuesday. We are not because we're here doing this for whoever wants to tune in and join us or whoever wants to view it later on. I will ask whether you're watching now, live, or later on after it's been recorded, if you could, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us out tremendously, and it's entirely free for you guys. So no subscription, nothing to be paid for. Just subscribe, follow along. We really, really appreciate it. So Inter Miami went on the road to Frisco, Texas at Toyota Stadium to take on FC Dallas in the round of 16. And the game finished in a 4-4 draw. Inter Miami took an early lead with another Lionel Messi goal in the opening minutes off of an assist from Jordi Alba, who made his first Inter Miami start. But FC Dallas pulled a couple of goals back late in the first half to go into the break with a 2-1 lead. Strikes from Facundo Quignon and Bernard Camungo. Now, in the second half, which was very, very eventful, 5 goals were scored in that second half, Alan Velasco makes it 3-1 in the 63rd minute. Inter Miami pulls one back literally 2 minutes later through super sub Benjamin Kremaski. A Robert Taylor own goal undoes that good and gives FC Dallas a 2-goal lead yet again. It was 4-2 at that point. But in the final 10 minutes, Inter Miami rallies. Stirring comeback. Again, Messi very, very involved. He hits a free kick that Marco Farfan, FC Dallas left back, I don't know what he was doing, but he scores an own goal himself, one that is for the blooper reel and might be the biggest low light of the FC Dallas season. And then Lionel Messi scores that aforementioned free kick that was sensational in the 85th. That leads to penalty kicks. Inter Miami was perfect from the spot. Messi went first. He converted. Benjamin Kremaski went 5th, and he made it. The only miss in the penalty kick shootout came from Paxton Pomykal of FC Dallas, who skied his shot well over the crossbar. Roberto Baggio, if you want to use the Italian reference, Simon, since you spent some time over there. Or you could say that Christian Cueva, if you're Peruvian or South American and you remember that poor penalty kick against Denmark in the 2018 World Cup, which helped doom Peru to an early World Cup elimination in that tournament. But what was your biggest analysis point from this one, Simon? I mean, what did you take away from this game? There's a lot to talk about, but what is the biggest takeaway you have? Andy Diosa, Miami Total Football Radio in 4K. What's up, Andy? How you doing, brother? I saw your tweet earlier today with regards to the game tonight. So looking forward to seeing if Chicho scores. But Simon, overall, what your thoughts were on the game?
Yeah, I mean, big picture, I think, it's the contrast between the front and the back of the team, isn't it? Really, I think that's the biggest takeaway from it. Very sharp in attack, always asking different questions. Taylor didn't get on target for Miami in this game, but still really involved down that left. Him and Alba looked an interesting combination there. And Martinez still not quite firing, but a nuisance, a pest. And Messi just pulling the strings from deep quite a lot, isn't he? He does seem to be drifting deeper and deeper in search of the ball, which I think probably has reached its limit in parts of that game. But the negative side of it was, the defending, conceding 4 goals, and it could have been more. I mean, Jesus Ferreira had a couple of headers that really he should have buried.
He had that one-on-one that if he pulls the trigger sooner, he probably scores, but he allowed Kamal Miller to
that game could have easily been like 7-5 for Dallas or something crazy like that. The thing with the fullbacks both pushing up, it leaves a lot of work to do on the counter when they hit, and Sergei and Kamal Miller and Sergei Kritsov at the back. Neither of them are blessed with a great amount of electric pace. Let's put it that way. So that's something that got exposed a couple of times, and that's a bit of a concern. But maybe this is what we're in for. Those of us who are going to be watching into Miami over the coming months is maybe just roll with it. Maybe that's Tata's idea. Is okay. We've got this attack. We've got Jordi Alba at left back. We're not holding him back and keeping him alongside the centre halves. They're going to attack. Yes, we're going to concede some goals, but we'll probably score more. I got the feeling that was basically, how it went there. But defensive wise, there's some concerns there.
So I don't agree with that. I don't agree that was the idea or the game plan. I think the idea was to maybe not boss possession as much as they have at home, but I don't think it was to have a shootout, figuratively speaking, from the playing in the penalties. I think they wanted to stay compact, they wanted to stay organized, they wanted to stay tight and not give FC Dallas much in the attack. Even Tata Martino before the game in the pregame press conference, match day -2, and in the postgame press conference talked about how FC Dallas from the middle to the front, that's where they were really, really dangerous. He didn't really sing a whole lot of praise towards their back line, understandably so, if you've watched FC Dallas this season or if you even look at their overall stats for the year. But Inter Miami did a very poor job of defending in this one. And I'll say this, in the first half, it didn't start that well for Inter Miami defensively, right? There was that one near header in the opening minute or so that glanced past the far post,
right?
And could have been a goal had somebody gotten a touch on it. Then there was the Ferreira goal that was called back for offside. So Inter Miami didn't start well in this one defensively, but I thought in the first half they did okay up until the last 10, 15 minutes of the first half, which is when FC Dallas gets both of their goals. One comes from a well-taken shot. Marking could have been better both on the cross and on Quignon, who took the shot, but it was still a nice goal. The second one, that one left a lot more to be desired. Inter Miami got hit on a counter. Ferreira goes at Christoph, who looked very, very slow in this one. I mean, we all know he's, if you've watched him at any point this season, he's not blessed with a whole lot of pace, but he really struggled in transition in this one, trying to keep up with the speed of FC Dallas attackers. The ball's played to Kamungo, and Kamal Miller, I mean, he had a nightmare there, man. I mean, he gets turned way too easily. Dixon Arroyo tries to cover for him, gets a piece of the ball, but it falls favorably for Kamungo, and Kamungo just shoots it past Drake Calendar. So, a lot of good work was undone very quickly by very poor defending during those final 10, 15 minutes of the first half. And then from there, Inter Miami was forced to chase the game, and that left them even more exposed. And they gave up the third one on, again, another transition. The third one's on a free kick. Free kick from Alan Velasco, who DeAndre Yedlin fouled needlessly. So a lot of poor defending, a lot of poor decisions. I put a lot of it, Simon, I don't know if you agree with me, I put a lot of it on Tata Martino's game plan, because it got Inter Miami away from what I think most of us think they're good at, right? Like, what is the strength of this Inter Miami team with Sergio Busquets, Leo Messi, Jordi Alba? I mean, it's to have the ball and to do things with the ball, right? Like, that's what I think Inter Miami's strengths are with this group. I mean, I don't expect you to try to defend more often than not with those players on the field. I get it's a different game, they're on the road, but I felt like Inter Miami was uncomfortable in trying to defend for such large stretches. They weren't playing with the ball, they weren't playing to their strengths. It was just like it was a group that was trying to defend, and they just weren't very comfortable at doing so. They're just better with the ball at their feet than they are having to chase it and try to defend it. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't look comfortable defending at all, whatever the game plan was. I mean, I think when he certainly pushed up the fullbacks a lot, and they both like to get forward, and they both have that as a strength of their game as fullbacks, both Jordi Alba and Yedlin, and you can only really do that if you then have a central midfielder who can drop back and make up a three at the back. Really, I mean, that's when you see Manchester City do it, then you see someone like John Stones or Rodri drop back in alongside the central defenders and make a line of three. I'm not sure that adding Arroyo in there with Kamal Miller and Sergei Gustav is really creating a three that's going to be, again, not a lot of pace there either. So that's a real problem for them. If you're going to play that way, and you're going to leave it 2 or 3 at the back, you've got to have some pace there, and there isn't any really.
There wasn't much in that midfield. You could see it on the transitions, right? Especially defensive ones. They got caught off. And I would disagree with you that they pushed Yedlin up high. I mean, he did get forward at times, but I mean, with Jordi Alba pushing so high up on the left, I felt like Yedlin's contributions on the right were largely muted. And listen, in part, he doesn't have an attacker in front of him to play to, right? Like Messi is the right winger in the 4-3-3.
But he's not there half the time.
But he's not there, right? He floats around. He's in the middle. So, like, Yedlin literally has no one to pass to. So I think that has to be taken into consideration in the analysis of his performance. But defensively, still not the best from DeAndre Yedlin. I don't think just because he doesn't have a player in front of him that can excuse some of the poor decisions and the poor play that he had on the defensive side. But yes, look, I agree. I agree with you that defensively it was very poor performance. Like you said, they could have gotten scored on more than that. The Kamal Miller track back to stop Ferreira from scoring that one-on-one it's a massive. It counts worth a goal. That stop that he did, he never gave up on the play. A lot of commitment there. Yeah, one of the big bright spots for him in a game that was pretty poor here. Endo sums it up pretty nicely. Complete nightmare for Miller. So it just wasn't good enough from the team. I do think that once they got back to being more aggressive, once FC Dallas did tire. We'll touch on that in a little bit, but once Inter Miami got back to being more aggressive and pushing numbers forward and changing the formation, they looked much more comfortable, and that allowed them to dictate the tempo, to take more control of the game, and to let the players with the skill help make the difference, right? Jordi Alba gets an assist to Benjamin Gramaski. Messi scores a free kick. I mean, I think that's what Inter Miami has to be, home or away. You have to have the ball, or at least try to fight for the ball, and let the players, do their thing. Like, I understand wanting to hit in transition against FC Dallas, right? Especially if you take an early lead, because if they're coming at you, that leaves more spaces in behind. And if Messi can get the ball in space with a whole bunch of, room to dribble at and to play passes and do his thing, I mean, in theory, that can be very, very good for your team. But I think that limits the amount of touches he can have, right? Because if you're defending, you don't have the ball. And if you don't have the ball, then Messi's not going to have as many touches to do his magic, to pull off his magic. So I think the attack minded approach, that has to be the biggest lesson learned from this one. If Tata Martino and his staff do a thorough analysis, that they can't have this team sit back and defend. They've got to be aggressive minded, home or away, and then let the chips fall where they may. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, I think the balance was a little bit off, but it's the first time they've played away from home as well, so you do get a different dynamic there as well. So that needs to be taken into consideration. But I just feel like in the midfield as well, we're being very critical here, aren't we? And it was an exciting and great performance, so let's not forget that it was great entertainment. But I'm still not quite sure he's found that balance in that midfield between, protecting Busquets, protecting the back line, but also, having the ability to feed Messi and feed Taylor and it's never really got back to that first time where Busquets and Messi were just so electric together, just combined so well.
Why? What do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, teams have realized very quickly, haven't they, what they need to do. Which is like, you can you can weaken the impact of Messi on a game by doing as much as you can to keep Busquets quiet.
Yeah.
And we've seen that from pretty much every team they've played since the Cruz Azul game.
Well, not Atlanta. Atlanta decided to just high press Inter Miami and not shadow Busquets, and they got pummeled to the tune of 4-0. But since that, the 2 games since, and I think Orlando.
But even then, Busquets wasn't as effective against Atlanta as he had been.
He got the assist on the opener, brother. Don't forget that. Well, I forget 7th minute, I think it was.
Well, no, but you know that we all came away from that Cruz Azul game, that 40-minute appearance or whatever it was that they had, saying, "My goodness, Busquets!" Like, you know, I mean, you know, he was really the standout player in that game, and he hasn't quite. I'm not saying he's played badly, but he hasn't quite been as influential as we probably thought he was going to be after that first appearance. Is that not fair? Do you think?
No, I agree, but I think the last 2 games are where it's really been more of a challenge for him to leave his imprint on proceedings. Right? Orlando shadowed him a whole bunch. You know, they had like a front 3, you know, protecting that entry pass into him. And then here with FC Dallas, you had Alan Velasco shadowing Busquets repeatedly.
Right.
Now, Busquets did get the ball in some nice areas at times. He did slip in some nice forward passes. You know, he's still able to penetrate through in that manner, but his impact was limited. And again, my opinion, my analysis, I thought he was asked to do a lot more defending than he has been asked in all the other games because Inter Miami didn't have the ball, right? So they couldn't play to his strengths with just passing the ball forward, using his craftiness on the ball. You know, he was stuck defending, which isn't necessarily his forte. So, yeah, his impact was muted a little bit as much as you can. And I think away teams will take that. I think, listen, I don't think you're going to completely ever shut out Messi. I don't think you're ever going to completely shut out Busquets. But if you can mitigate how much of an impact they can make, then I think you live with that. FC Dallas was sitting pretty, man, 3-1. It wasn't until Velasco came out of the game because he was starting to cramp up or starting to get tired that Inter Miami started to have a little more success, right? Because then the guy that was shadowing Busquets so successfully, he was no longer on the field. Inter Miami, Tata Martino also, I think, corrected his own mistakes tactically and went more offensive-minded. And then that helped Inter Miami find their game in the final 30 minutes. Actually, let's listen to that from Tata. I know you had something to say there, Simon, but let's listen to that from Tata with regards to advancing, but the overall performance needing to be much, much better.
Bueno, empiezo por el final. ¿Se imaginan que un partido 4-2 hasta el minuto 80 abajo, terminarlo de esta manera? Obviamente que estamos muy felices con el resultado, con el hecho de haber pasado. Esto no nos puede hacer perder de vista todas las cosas que tenemos que mejorar. Afortunadamente lo hemos sostenido también en los triunfos, que ayudan para seguir evolucionando, pero que estamos lejos todavía de ser un equipo confiable.
So for those of you that don't speak Spanish, Simon, you included, I will quickly translate. I mean, Simon, you speak a little Spanish, right?
I got. Actually, football Spanish is. I speak Italian, so. Hey, yeah. No. He was obviously pleased with the result and that they advanced in the tournament, but that shouldn't overshadow the fact that there's a lot to take away and think about from that game.
That's yes, that is the summary of what he said. Very well done, Simon. Very well done. Right. He says he actually corrects himself because he says, I'm pleased with the result. And he's like, I'm pleased with advancing.
Yeah.
But you know, that this shouldn't overshadow the fact that there's a lot of things to correct. And you know, you touched on a few minutes ago, like, oh, we're being critical here despite them advancing. But I think the performance merited that because listen, it took a sensational rally in the final 10 minutes. It took a horrific own goal from an FC Dallas perspective to help get Inter Miami back into the game. And it took a spectacular free kick from Messi, which, by the way, have you seen the replay from, I don't know if it's a broadcast angle, but I think it's an angle from somebody in the stadium at Toyota Stadium. And Messi, you know, he has the ball at the spot of the foul where Robert Taylor was fouled. And as the referee's getting the wall organized, then he turns his back to Messi. Messi takes the ball and starts moving it a little bit more to the left, I think he takes like 5 steps with the ball and gets it a little more central before whipping it in. Messi es un vivo, says Kyle. Hey, listen, that South American savviness came into play there 100%. Still needed to hit it in spectacular fashion, in sensational, wonderful fashion that he did.
And it's not golf, is it? It's not golf. People can get away with that one a little bit. But
I mean,
yeah.
5 though, 5 ball, like 5. That's a bit much, man. I mean, if the referee would have caught him, I think he tells him, stop that. But he got away with one there. I imagine the referees will have an eye on him on the free kicks going forward after seeing that.
Well, he's been doing that for years, hasn't he? They were producing those little video clips like 5-6 years ago with Barcelona. But
Let's talk about some individual performances, right? We talked about the defense, but in terms of the midfield attack, you talked about Busquets, Robert Taylor, Joseph Martinez. I mean, who really played well in this game for Inter Miami? Who really had a good game? Messi, absolutely. He's involved in all 4 goals in some capacity. Who else would you put up there?
Apart from Messi and Kramaski, it's pretty difficult to sort of pick out. The point of that game is, and I should have said this in my overall analysis at the start, really, is they got drawn into an MLS game, right? That to and fro, like end to end, lot of transition, lot of possession changes, and so on. That's not the way Inter Miami want to play, is it? They want to play like they've been playing at home, where they have possession. Messi and Busquets and Jordi Alba aren't used to playing in those kind of games. At Barcelona, they would never get involved in those kind of end-to-end games, apart from maybe in the Champions League now and then. But which is great for everyone to watch. But I think what they want to do is have a little bit more control over it. And they lost control of that game. They never had control of that game. It's really hard to think of people who had we've criticized the defense. I thought Jordi Alba, that was a pretty good debut, right? I mean, linked up.
Yeah.
Immediate connection with Messi again with that pullback for the opening goal. Lively throughout, looked fit enough as well, going deep into the game and everything. So that was a big positive. Robert Taylor again did lots of things involved. I feel sorry for him with the own goal because he absolutely busted the gut getting back. All that way he ran back and then he slides in. If that goes anywhere else, everyone's applauding like that incredible 50-yard sprint to help out his teammates.
Hell of a commitment. And listen, Drake Callender should have done better there. Let's be honest. Drake Callender should have been much, much better in terms of reacting to that. I mean,
I think
Robert Taylor did everything. He could have cut it off a little bit better. Sure, you could make that statement or that case, but I mean, Drake Callender. I don't know what.
How many players are getting over 6? Like, I don't know if you did your marks out of 10.
I did.
How many got more than 6?
How many got more than 6? Oof, I have to go back and look because I'm going off the top of my head. Messi got a 9.5. I gave Jordi Alba a 9. 2 assists in his first start. And I thought he was, steadily whipping in service and crosses in from that left flank. Benjamin Kremaski got an 8.5. And then from there, maybe Sergio Busquets got a 6 or a 6.5, maybe.
But that's about it, isn't it? Really?
Even Robert Taylor
struggled at times.
I mean, there weren't many standout performances in this one, and that's why I think not just us, but Tata Martino was critical in the post game. He said, this shouldn't confuse us." And I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say use the word confuse, but he said this shouldn't have us overlooking what we need to correct because the team did not play well. Right? They finished the game well, but they didn't play well. And a better team puts them away. A better team, Inter Miami doesn't have the opportunity to come back. I mean, again, that Marco Farfan own goal. I mean, do you have any idea? Do you have any guess as to what you think he was trying to do? Clearly, he's trying to clear the ball, but how? Why? Where? What? Like, what caused him to do that?
He really headed it. It wasn't like he came off his head.
It was a thunderous header, man.
I mean, the only thing I can think is he's like grown up, visualizing heading in across from Messi, playing for Barcelona and all his dreams and so on. And then suddenly that cross comes over and that visualization kicks in. I don't know. It was a weird one. I mean, was he trying to put it over the bar and he just go underneath it? I don't know.
Kyle says he headed it like a striker.
He did. He did exactly.
So let's see. There is one player I want to speak about. And you mentioned him earlier and you weren't that critical on him. And I think that you're off base there, Simon. So I'm going to allow you to defend yourself or, I don't know, make your case. Make your case. And it's this player right here that Endo brings up. Joseph needs a rude awakening, sitting for the next matches and let Campapi get some minutes. I thought Joseph Martinez was a non-factor once again.
No, I agree.
I mean, I just don't think he's looked all that good. Does he flick the ball on with Messi at times? Well, sure. But besides that, I don't see him being much of a threat in the final third for Inter Miami. Even in the last game against Orlando City, where he got a goal and an assist, the goal comes off a penalty kick, which, yes, you still have to convert. But, I mean, odds are in your favor. I think it's like an 80 or 75% chance to make the penalty kick. And then he got a heads-up assist when the game was already in Inter Miami's favor and they were attacking and there was more spaces to exploit. When the games have been tight, I just haven't seen him, and I haven't seen him do enough to say he warrants a starting spot. In my player ratings for Miami Total Football, the Substack, which you can find there, I gave him a 4. I think that might have even been a little too high. And I said,
that's harsh, man. That's harsh.
What positive thing did Joseph Martinez do?
A 4 means you've had a stinker. He wasn't,
He's a forward, Simon. He's a forward. He's a forward. What is a forward supposed to do out there? He's supposed to go help create chances. Did he create any chances? Did he take any shots?
I'm not defending his performance, but I think 4 is excessively bad.
What would you have given him? Please, what would you have given him?
5.
A 5. Okay. Well, listen, I mean, I just don't see it. He almost, well, actually, I guess he did, but they ruled it off. He almost took back Messi's great opener in the 6th minute, but because he was standing in front of the goal. And, people were saying he was offside, which he was, but he didn't interfere with the play, so the goal ended up counting when it was initially ruled back for offside. I just don't see him creating much of anything for himself nor for teammates.
No,
he plays very negative. Really. He plays negative pass after negative pass. Every time he receives the ball, it's with his back to goal, and he just lays it off. Very rarely do you see him making runs in behind. And I think they have to give Campana a look. I think they have to give him a look.
You know what? He looked better when he came on, didn't it? He did. I mean, I know that was a crazy stage of the game and everything, but it felt a better fit. It did. It did. And I was defending our previous discussion about him, which was after the Atlanta game when we talked about it, I think. And I was saying, like, he's kind of in that sort of false 90 kind of position, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. If anything, he gets in the way of things sometimes rather than actually stretching people and creating.
He doesn't stretch anyone.
No, it's not really working at the moment. So yeah, I'd be tempted to give Campana an opportunity, but I don't know. Do you think he will, though? I mean, there's this sense that, like, Messi wants to play with Martinez and Tata wants to give Messi what Messi wants. I mean, that's the impression. That's kind of what other people have hinted at. Is that the case? I don't know.
I would say I think it's more of a Tata thing than a Messi thing.
Right.
And Jose Armando, he said something that I thought was interesting when we were talking about Joseph and Campana. And Campana's left-footed, right? And Messi's left-footed. So if Messi is playing those through balls in from the right flank or central channels to Campana, I mean, based on a positional standpoint, in terms of his perfil, as you would say in Spanish, I mean, Campana's not going to be on his stronger foot often, right? Like if Messi's hitting through balls in from the right flank to Campana, I mean, Campana's going to be facing goal this way, and he's going to have to hit it with his right foot as opposed to his left foot. Maybe that's something that's being taken into consideration there in terms of Joseph over Campana. I do think the familiarity between Tata and Joseph plays a big part in it all. But I think, my personal opinion, Campana deserves a longer look, man. I just don't see Joseph bringing a whole lot to, and I've said that from the first. I've said that from earlier in the season, but I said that from the first game that he came in with Messi and Busquets, and you were singing his praises. So this is one that you've been wrong. This is the one you've been wrong about, I think.
No, I'll get that. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt and giving him some time, but after these last couple of games, totally, and after seeing Campana out there for that spell at the end of the game, yeah, I'd make that switch. And you've always got the option then of saying to Martinez, you're coming on with 25 minutes to go and you're going to have to make an impact. You want to play in this team, you come off the bench, make an impact, and I might start you again. You know, you've got that option.
Kada says this is why Miami will still go for Luis Suarez.
Maybe so.
I agree with that. I think Suarez will be on this team. Hell or high water, I believe Luis Suarez will wear the pink and black before his career ends. I fully believe that. Unless he gets injured, knock on wood, from here until the end of the year.
By the way, that point you were saying about, Campana being left-footed, actually that can work to advantage, because the flip side of what you just described is those balls coming in from Messi at that angle. Martinez is coming across that way. The only way he's going is that way, right? So whereas Campana can let the ball come across his body and attack it on that other side as well.
But if you let it come across your body, you have to think there's going to be a center back or a goalkeeper in front of you. You let it come across your body, you're giving that player in
the right moment, obviously.
But I think
in the right moment, he's got that option. Whereas Martinez he's got a narrow angles to work with by being right-footed.
I would disagree, man. I think he's got better angles. Messi's not necessarily clipping balls over defenders to feed the strikers. He's playing the through balls in behind. Like, think about that one against Cruz Azul that he plays to Joseph Martinez, where Joseph had a one-on-one chance, and instead of shooting it with his right foot, he tries to run.
Well, it would give him more if Martinez was coming in off the left, but he's not. He's coming from very central positions all the time, isn't he? Because Robert Taylor's the one who's coming in from the left, and Robert Taylor's the one who's getting those balls that I'm just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that'd be interesting to see how it works, because you might end up with Campana actually sort of sniffing for the same balls that Taylor's been getting. So, but and Robbie Goal, we don't want to take service away from Robbie Goal.
Well, I mean, he didn't have a great game this one. He missed that clinical finishing that he had in the previous matches. He had one very good look in the first half that Messi plays him through on, but just couldn't put it away. Now, let's listen to this from Tata on FC Dallas, right? He talked about after the game all different aspects of the match and the matchup, but let's hear what he said about FC Dallas in a little more detail.
Creo que durante una hora ellos jugaron un muy buen partido, tienen delanteros muy rápidos, muy picantes, son complicados en el juego asociado y también son complicados cuando retroceden y van al espacio. Pero también es cierto que anular a Inter también tiene un terrible gasto físico, y yo creo que ese gasto físico hizo que nosotros la última media hora de partido, más allá de que ellos hicieron el cuarto gol, lo hayamos podido controlar mejor y jugar más cerca de lo que nosotros pretendíamos haber jugado todo el partido.
So Tata was saying there that he felt that Dallas were a good team, a very quick team, particularly on the counter-attack. But was he then saying that they were struggled a little bit physically and towards the end of the game?
He said marking Inter Miami and trying to just defend Inter Miami takes a physical toll on you. And I think what he's really referencing there is, or I think what it's most underlined by is Alan Velasco's exit from the game, because you see him kind of like limping off around the 60th minute mark, which again coincides with when Inter Miami started to take the game or take control of the game. Now, Benjamin Cremaschi comes in, and we're going to talk about him in good detail here because I'm sure you're ready to gloat. But
before that, I have to ask picantes, because I know what picante means in terms of like food. It's like
spicy.
Yeah, but how do you describe?
I think he meant. But because pique means like a quick burst of speed, right? So I think what he's getting at is just how how quick they were, right? Like they were able to get away from the defenders on the dribble and into space.
I like that though. I like that word picante to describe a football team. Like,
it's interesting. I mean, that's why we call Andrea Ajicita, is because she's picante, right? She's spicy. So
that's the same in Italian. So, yeah.
Anyway, so let's go with.
She's very picante.
That's why I gave her Ajicita. I'm still coming up with your nickname, my friend. Don't worry, it's coming. It's coming. So let's go to Benjamin Cremaschi, because he was a player that had a very good game in this one. Comes off the bench, literally scores seconds after entering. I don't know if it was his first touch, might have been a second or third, but he slams home across from Jordi Alba. And he not only did he give him a goal that was needed to, give them some confidence. Again, although they surrendered a fourth one a few minutes later, but he brought some much needed energy, in my opinion, to Inter Miami. Because, look, I will insist that I don't think he's the most polished on the ball. I think there's a lot of work for him to go in that regard, which is, listen, no crime. He's a teenager. I think Diego Gomez is better in that respect at this point in their young careers. I think Diego Gomez, even though he didn't shine in this one, I think he gives you better moments in possession, and with the ball. But Benjamin Kramaski was just what the doctor ordered for Inter Miami in this one. And I think Tata Martino made a heck of a decision to bring him on when he did, because he just started running about, getting forward well, defended well. I think he helped win back a ball that led to the free kick. Simon, this is some detail here for you, brother. And this is where you can give Benjamin Kramaski a lot of props. He hustles and helps win back a ball that leads to a free kick deep in Inter Miami's attacking half late on. That free kick is then played on the ground low to Robert Taylor, who then earns the free kick that Messi put away. So Benjamin Kramaski had a goal, and then he helped play subtle or not so subtle role in the build-up to the free kick leveler. So a heck of a game. He puts the penalty kick away.
Converts the winning penalty kick. Yeah.
So this is your moment to, sing his praises and pat yourself on the back, because you have been very high on him, whereas Jose and I have been a little bit more critical and not as praiseworthy or not.
No, I mean, if you go back to what I was saying, Franco, really, I was saying that I thought that I was seeing a few things that maybe you guys were seeing differently, or maybe, without wanting to sound arrogant, I'd spotted a couple of things that maybe you hadn't. Because we all see the game differently, right?
Yeah, so absolutely.
And that's why I was seeing him as a final third player, because I think he has a good sense of space and his timing's pretty good. And we obviously saw that with that goal, which was great from Alba to spot him and pick him out like that as well. I thought he gave them some life and some zest and a little bit. They didn't pick him up as well. He glided into some positions and Dallas weren't picking him up, so he was getting into spaces that they weren't covering. Really excellent, and to keep his cool for the penalty as well. I was really pleased for him, and I think he is that final third player is what I was saying to you. I think he is more a player who's going to get in that positions, those 8 and 10s rather than 4s and 6s, and in midfield. So I think that I don't need to gloat about this. You just.
You should, brother, because when you're wrong, I'm gonna rub it in your face.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. But
look, again, I think he's an 8, man. I think he's an 8, and I told you I thought he needed to add that, those late runs into the box, crashing the box, helping to finish things off, and that's what he does on his goal. He makes a smart run to the near post, while Joseph Martinez drew a lot of attention, making his own run towards the goal, and it gets wide open and smashes the ball into the roof of the net. So a heck of a goal from him. Again, a big confidence boost. And then, of course, to take the 5th final and decisive spot kick and to convert it, massive kudos to him. A heck of a night for him. I believe after the game and in the post-game interview, he said he was nervous going into it. You could see on his face that he looked a little bit nervous going on into the penalty kick. I'm not going to lie. I was a little nervous for him watching it from the sofa. I was like, he's not transmitting a whole lot of confidence to me right now with his expressions and his body language, but he put it away. This is what Tata Martino said, not about his overall performance, but about Benjamin Kramaski going 5th on that decisive spot kick.
Bueno, primero porque le pregunté y estaba convencido de patearlo. Es más, incluso de patear el quinto penal, no tuvo ningún problema. Segundo, porque era uno de los futbolistas que estaba con menos minutos encima. Y además porque vimos a lo largo de esos 30 minutos que él jugó, que estaba con mucha confianza. Entonces, solo arrimarse, preguntarle al jugador cuando contamos con la aprobación de él era solamente definir qué penal pateaba.
Care to translate yet again? You've been el traductor, Simon el traductor.
I think what I picked up there towards the second part of it was him saying that Kramaski was one of the players to take the kick because he'd had less time on the field than quite a lot of the others, but he'd been on there for long enough, that 20 minutes, half an hour period, to go into the shootout with confidence, right? So he and he paid off.
Well, he said that, yeah, right. He's had fresher legs, right? So he wasn't, he didn't have heavy legs underneath him like some of the other guys did that were playing in that Dallas Heat for much of the 90 minutes, if not all the 90 minutes. So, I mean, again, heck of a game for him. On this one, I'll raise my hand and say I was wrong. And, he delivered exactly what Inter Miami needed in that game. They needed somebody that could run. They needed someone in that midfield who could battle and give you a little bit more range in that midfield, which they didn't have with Diego Gomez, Busquets, and Dixon Arroyo. Listen, I thought Dixon Arroyo had a subpar game. We haven't really touched on him, but he's the midfielder in there tasked with bringing in a little bit more defensive bite and steal. And in this one, he couldn't make the big tackle. He didn't really win his battles often enough for my liking. In other games he has, in this one he didn't. So
yeah,
Benjamin Kramaski was vital. Do you think he starts on Friday night? Do you think he's earned his place back in the starting line? Because that was one of the biggest surprises, right? Was that Diego Gomez in the first road game for Inter Miami in this new era, they got they sat Benjamin Kramaski and they started Diego Gomez. So do you think Benjamin Kramaski has regained his spot in the lineup, or do you think because they'll be at home looking to be more possession based that they'll go back to Diego Gomez?
It's a tough one. Instinctively, I'd say they'd stick with Gomez. Yeah. And maybe look to use Kramaski again off the bench like that. I mean, he's a new arrival. He's a new arrival, Gomez, isn't he? He needs time to get himself into the team and stuff. I mean, I think the problem with that midfield more than those two really is you need somebody. I'm not sure Arroyo is that kind of player who you need somebody who can really cover a lot of ground in that midfield, because Busquets can't, right? He's never been a good runner or anything, and he certainly is at this stage of his career. Well, if you think of someone like Declan Rice, right, who Arsenal have just signed, who plays right across the midfield from left to right, sweeps things up in front of the defense, they could really do with someone like. I don't think Arroyo is mobile enough to do that. He's fine when he's in his zone and he's having to deal with a one-on-one or something, but he's not that player who's going to read the game and be across there and all. And they don't seem to have a player like that. So I don't know. I don't think Gomez is obviously going to be that player either. But yeah, that's probably something they would probably look at in the winter, I would think, to try and find that person who can sort of protect the back line a little bit more by being able to sweep things up. Yeah.
Well, Gregory's looming. His return is looming. So maybe
he's that kind of player, isn't he? A bit. Yeah.
So, Gada with a good comment here. I love the humor that our viewers have because, it's definitely it's definitely makes for an entertaining show.
It's true though. There is £98 million difference there. Yeah, so fair enough.
It's a really good question, man. I think I'm curious to see what the viewers think. Let us know here in the comment section, and I'll of course pop them up here. But who starts in that midfield? Is it Kramaski or is it Gomez? I could see it going either way. Kramaski, obviously, he made a case for more minutes with the performance he had. But if you're going to be at home and you think you're going to be a possession-based team, I mean, again, I think Diego Gomez gives you more with the ball. But again, defensively, in transition moments, you've seen how weak the team can be if Kramaski's not in there. If you put a gun to my head, I say Kramaski. I say Kramaski starts just because they need a little more muscle there. Andrew Rogers with Benji. Endo says Kramaski. Gada says Kramaski. Broward, Herring, Kramaski needs to start. Gomez proves he's not up to starting yet. Which is fair. I could, but I could see it going either way, because if the game plan is to be possession based, then I think that Gomez gives you a little more. But given the weaknesses that we saw defensively, I think Behan will start. Simon, very quickly before we wrap up this FC Dallas game, let's just talk about the fact that it was the first away game, and there was a whole lot of hoopla, not only at the stadium. There's people trying to get a closer look at Messi, but in the hotel, there were fans in the lobby. There were fans waiting outside where the bus arrived to try to catch a glimpse of him, take a selfie. I mean, there was very tight security from Inter Miami and MLS to try to keep the players as safe as possible. But this one was a bit of a different experience. This is what Drake Callender will have an English quote here, an English soundbite, an English clip from Drake Callender talking about the overall experience of what it was like to play on the road with such a different feel with the away fans and being in and around the hotel, around the bus, and everything that went into all of it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to adapt to that. I think it being our first road game was a little bit new, just with the whole hotel setup and everything. But again, we came here to play a game, and I think that was the focus from when we left Florida to here was we're coming here to play a game, we're coming here to compete, and there's only so much you can control. If there's going to be people at the hotel, there's going to be all these other distractions. Okay, it's something that we have to adapt to, and as long as we can get to, I guess, show up to the game the best that we possibly can.
Simon, is this what it's going to be like for Inter Miami in every road game? Is it going to be a circus, to borrow Oscar Pareja's term from the other day? Broward Heron says, Simon, do you mind translating?
Yeah, it probably is, isn't it? I mean, maybe not everywhere. Some parts of the US are a little bit more reserved than others. But I think anywhere where you go and there's a significant Spanish-speaking population, you're going to have like excitement around Messi and people going out to the hotel and trying to get pictures and so on. I think they're just going to have to learn to live with that.
Now, the game itself, like there was moments, yeah, we heard the FC Dallas chants, but there were moments when we heard Messi chants, which was, I think, is expected, and I think it's going to be like that for most of these away games. I mean, people are going and paying large sums of money, yes, to watch the game, but largely to go see Messi up close. And a lot of the people aren't fans, or I imagine won't be fans of the local MLS team that's playing in the market. A lot of these people will just be soccer football fans, hinchas de Messi. They're there to cheer him on and root for him and try to catch a glimpse on their cell phones of some moment of magic like we saw with that free kick. So, I mean, Inter Miami will be playing away, but they can also be playing with a home field type of atmosphere if the game goes in their favor, right? When he scored in the 6th minute, I mean, you saw plenty of people in the crowd cheering and celebrating.
And the pink shirts, and they weren't people, you got the feeling that they weren't people who traveled solo from Miami and paid $500 to stand on their own in the Dallas sections. Actually, that just random thought that comes into my head, though, seeing all the coverage internationally, what a smart move this pink was. No? I mean, it's like
amazing.
Round the world now, anyone sees a pink shirt with a little bit of black on it, and it's Inter Miami. And there was probably the only color scheme you could go for where there wouldn't be any. I mean, there's Palermo in Italy, but I don't know what division they're in.
Sport Boys in Peru.
Right, okay. But it's you see a pink shirt now, even if they change something on it in the future, pink shirts, they've got that on the global stage, they've got that color, which is really hard to do. I mean, if you went with red or blue, you've no chance,
Kyle says, Messi even said on Instagram, Dallas, gracias por el cariño, which means, Dallas, thank you for the warm welcome, or thank you for the warmth and hospitality. You're not wrong, Simon. I'm waiting to get my Messi pink jersey just to hang it up here. They don't have it in any size that's below extra large, which I think would make for uneven background for myself here. So it's going to probably be till October. So this one here, I gotta get used to this. This one here will be there probably until October. There's some interesting comments here. Endo says, y'all peeped that they played a Miami song after we beat their team. Broward Heron says, it was also surreal seeing FC Dallas fans cheer for us too. LOL. So to discuss Endo's comment, bring it back up here. Apparently, because it's Leagues Cup, it's mandated that home teams play the away team song after a goal, which is why after the penalty kick shootout, you heard the infamous song that's played, or the famous song, not infamous, the famous song that's played at Drive Pink Stadium. Miami me la confirmo. So there we go. Let's quickly just do a quick preview. We're wrapping up this show for the week, but let's quickly do a preview of Friday, Simon. They play against Charlotte FC, who beat the Houston Dynamo on the road on Monday night. And, I mean, if we're being honest, Charlotte FC won this one thanks to some good fortune. I mean, they turned it around pretty quickly. Some very poor goalkeeping on one play, minutes later, and
absurd, even more absurd than that header.
No. The header is the worst of the two own goals. The other one's a bad back pass, and the goalkeeper probably should have just dove with his hands and taken the red.
Did you notice on the highlights clip? And I'm not somebody who's into like MLS conspiracy theories and stuff. Did you notice on the highlight clip, like they barely squeezed it in? There was no replay of it. They just like clipped it in there on MLS.
Oh, I didn't watch the highlight reel of MLS's package.
You could
I watched it on
not notice that
night.
goal. It was like and he, no celebrations, no replay of it. Yeah, but it was a ridiculous goal. Yeah.
The viewers are too much, man. I swear, you guys really I really enjoy doing this more than the audio podcast.
Oh, it's so much better.
We get to interact, and you guys literally make me laugh. It's hard to stay focused and serious sometimes because you guys are just killing it in the comments section. But I agree with Broward Heron. Charlotte won by sheer luck, man. I mean, sure, yes, they did. They deserve some merit, some credit for being in the game and away from home, being able to find a way to come out on top. But I mean,
well, you know what? The one thing that should concern Inter Miami about Charlotte is they've not got a lot up front overall because they've got Copetti out at the moment with an injury. I think he's got like a thigh strain, yeah. And my friend, a football fan, but not MLS, is getting Messi Miami pink jersey.
That's back to your earlier point.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
It's late for Simon. If you've been paying attention, Simon's yawned a couple times.
I've had a long day today.
People in the comment section are telling me to call you Tio, which is like a endearing nickname for someone that's older. It's like you call him uncle. I've tried to avoid using that on you because it's a bit cliche.
It's a bit cliche. Other languages. I don't want to be Uncle Simon. No.
We'll call you Uncle Sam then. No. I promise this. I'll do this. By the next week's show, I'm giving you a nickname. It's going to be natural, but I'm going to have
Is it the hat that's brought the T.O. thing on? Is that what it is? I mean, do I look less T.O. with my shaven headed sort of... Is that more or less T.O.?
No, you're definitely more T.O. with the hat off, brother. You're definitely more T.O. Put the hat back on.
I'm going to go full bro.
There we go. El sobrino, the nephew. That's hilarious.
So, yeah, Charlotte don't have a great, with Enzo Copetti out. I'm okay with El Gringo. I got called El Gringo at the Stadio Azteca, When I was there, that game that Charlie Davis scored at, USA, Mexico, World Cup qualified. Were you at that one?
I was, 2009.
Yeah. And we used to walk all the way down. I'm going off at a massive tangent here, but you used to go all the way down from like the top deck of the Azteca where the press box is going to stretch. They put like a wooden plank out for us to put our laptops on. We go all the way down, and you've got 25,000 people coming in the other direction while you go down to the press conference. And they weren't happy. And like, I was like, so obviously like not a Mexican journalist. And so I got some chants of gringo and some gringo comments. And I was like, I'm not even American. Like, you can't tell me good. But, yeah. Gringo.
I feel like it means mostly American, but I mean, it stands for like a Caucasian person at this point. Like, it could be, if you're fair skinned, people will call you gringo. Just par for the course.
Yeah.
Par for the course. But let's just
Going back to
back to
Charlotte.
the game. Yeah, I mean,
Charlotte.
Does Charlotte have any chance? Does Charlotte have any chance?
They do, because the one thing that Charlotte, I've seen them score a number of times. They're pretty good on the counter. Long balls over the top. And what did we see Dallas, expose Miami with a few times? It was that. I'm really looking forward to, for my own selfish reasons, to watching two former Burnley favourites lining up for Charlotte against Messi and Busquets. Seriously, you can't not let me say this, Franco.
You drop a Burnley line in there every show. It's like Andrea.
You drop a Peruvian national team line.
No, that's not true.
You've had
no
two
way.
Peru references this week.
I do it for the people, man. I do it for the people. There was a Peruvian viewer. I don't know if he's still around now, but he was in here earlier, and he was making comments about the Cueva reference.
Well, I know that a number of our listeners are secret Burnley fans, growing on them. They can't wait for the man. There you go. You see Carter Friday night against Manchester City live on Peacock. Anyway, without Copetti, they're going to have to go. I think Swiderski plays on his own up front. But those two Burnley players are actually pretty effective. So Ashley Westwood plays in a deep midfield position, but he can really launch long balls forward. He did plenty of that at Burnley with the way that they played in that time. And Scott Arfield will get up there in support of them. So they can be dangerous on the counter-attack, but they shouldn't have a chance against Inter Miami. They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. Wait. So I asked you if they have a chance, and you said yes. Now you're saying they shouldn't. So which is it? They have a chance or they shouldn't?
I mean, Inter Miami have got much better players overall, I think, than Charlotte. But they've got a really good spirit. I've seen quite a bit of them because it's a bit sad watching two ex-Burnley players. But I like to see how they're doing and everything. And they've got a good fighting spirit, and they can play direct football. Swiderski can be dangerous up front. If they had Copetti fit, it could be really interesting. But I think this one should be advanced to semifinals for Miami. Should be.
So I talked to somebody today that's close to Charlotte. I won't say who. That person told me that they think that Charlotte will win the possession battle on Friday, which I thought was blasphemous. I was like, what? No. Against Busquets, against Messi, against Alba and the like, I was like, I don't see that. And, they said that Charlotte FC likes to crowd the midfield and have numbers in there, and that they saw Charlotte FC winning the possession battle, but not being lethal enough up front to make the difference. Look, for me, Inter Miami are clear favorites, and I don't see Inter Miami having another rough performance like they had against FC Dallas. I just don't see them having two back-to-back poor overall showings or disjointed displays. I think that they'll go back to the Inter Miami we've seen largely when they're at home, and that they'll play well, and that they will come out on top and move on to the semifinals, which means that they'll be playing, regardless of if they win the semifinals or not, they'll be playing for a spot in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So
wow.
That's fantastic. They have to just avoid the upset. If they can play to who they are at home with the crowd backing them, then I think it's a win. So we'll see how they do. I know tickets, that's been a talking point again because of how they were announced and how few people or how many people were not able to get tickets, especially season ticket holders. So yet again, that talking point has come up, but I'm still expecting a largely full house on Friday when Inter Miami takes on Charlotte. Simon, anything else you want to add? I think we've got to close out with Messi, man. I think we have to close out. I mean, he's scoring goals at an incredible rate. I think he's tied. I forget where he stands in terms of
fourth.
He's high up there in the Inter Miami all-time scoring.
Joint fourth.
Joint fourth. He leads the League's Cup. I mean, in this game,
7 in 3.5. Right.
Yeah, and in this game he was involved in all 4 goals. He scores the first one, the second one he plays the. What was the second one? I'm blanking now. So much soccer, so much football. What was the second goal? Benjamin Kramaski's? Yeah. Right? Yes, he plays the through ball in behind the Jordi Alba, who then crosses it to Benjamin Kramaski. The third one, he hits the free kick that Marco Farfan commits a blunder on, and then he scores the free kick. I mean, he had a hand in every single goal. Tata said this. Let's close out the show with this. Tata said this about Messi, that having him on the team is obviously a huge plus, but that the team has to play better with him to even take more advantage of having him on the field.
I think that's right.
¿Qué sería este equipo sin la presencia de Messi?
Y bueno, pero estas cosas o estas preguntas siempre suelen pasar en los lugares donde él esté. O sea, alguien podría apostar lo que hubiese sido de Barcelona sin Messi, lo que hubiese sido de la selección argentina sin Messi, o en cada uno de los lugares donde a él le ha tocado estar. Afortunadamente nosotros lo tenemos y hoy volvió a ser un jugador tremendamente determinante en el partido. Y es cierto, la mayoría de las veces hay un tiro libre en ese sector y creo que solo con él pasa que uno tiene la sensación de que va a ser gol. Es decir, un tiro libre normalmente no es algo que a vos te parezca que va a ser en el 90% de las opciones gol, y cuando lo tiene él es al revés. Vos creés que el 10% no va a ser gol, el resto sí. Bueno, y entonces nosotros tenemos que tratar de aprovecharlo, jugando mejor, sí, jugando mejor, y obviamente no dando tantas concesiones. Como dije al principio, nosotros defendimos mal cuando retrocedimos y defendimos mal cuando atacamos.
So I won't ask you to translate all that, Simon, but essentially he waxed poetry. He talked about how on a free kick, 90% of the chances that it won't go in and 10% chance is that it will. And then with Messi, it's like the opposite, right? Where it's like 90% of the chances that it goes in and 10% is that it won't. But the point was that they have to play better to
And
maximize.
what would this team be like without Messi? Well, you could ask Barcelona about that, or Argentine national team as well. And that's a fair point, actually, isn't it?
It was a great response to a tricky question. It was a good response. It was a very good response. I mean, but I think other players have to step up as well. I don't think you can just rely on Messi magic every single game. And I think Friday will be one where other players, whether it's Joseph, whether it's Campana, they have to do their part as well. I mean, Robert Taylor maybe getting back to the Robert Taylor that we saw before this game against FC Dallas. I mean, other players have to do their part. I don't think, again, you can just keep relying on Messi to overshadow a disjointed collective showing, because it's not going to be enough at some point, right? At some point, it won't be enough. I don't think Charlotte FC is going to put up enough of a fight. I don't think they have enough there. But anything you want to add with regards to the game or anything at all?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground there, Franco. I think I do agree, on exactly what you just said then. But I also think that he's basically answered all the skeptics or cynics who came out and said that, Messi's coming just to chill and like he's not going to take it serious. He's taking every game really, really seriously. If you just told people that like he would be running around until the final minute or putting 100% effort in a Leagues Cup match against FC Dallas on a Sunday night, people might have been skeptical of that. But he's delivered. He's delivered, and he wants to keep on delivering. He wants to win something with Inter Miami, doesn't he? You get that feeling. He wants this to be like not just an experience for him, but a success for him.
He looks very, very much still competitive and engaged. Like when they gave up the equalizing goal, he looked very frustrated by the fact that they gave up that equalizing goal. Right? He seems very, very in tune to it all. He seems very much
he's living the game,
hungry to win. He seems very hungry to win. You've touched on how happy he looks, and I agree with that. But he still looks hungry to win. Which I think is one of the reasons why
all these emotions have been like genuine, real football emotions. He was happy at the start. He scores his goal. He gets a good welcome. He's enjoying his time with his new team. Then he gets frustrated and angry against Orlando. And then he has like the roller coaster against Dallas of like, great start, happy to make that start, and then frustrated again, and then delight at the end. He's living these emotions. And he's playing in front of 25,000 and not 90,000 people. But he knows everybody's watching him as well. He's got standards as that guy. He knows. No, he has, because he's not easing off. He could stroll through some of these games. He really could, and he's not doing.
Last thing came from Dolphin Nation from much earlier in the show, and he says, sometime before this recap ends, ask Simon England's chances versus Colombia this Saturday in the Women's World Cup. Simon, you feeling good about the Lionesses?
Not yet. No, they've been a little bit like they've been a little bit like the Americans, haven't they? They've not really got going yet. A little bit scraping by Nigeria, and but they're due a good one. So the Colombia one's going to be interesting because Colombia wanted to. What's the girl called? Caicedo, is it?
Yeah.
She looks a great player. So, and I don't think England have that kind of player. They're a good team, but they don't have that individual flair as much. So, interesting one. It would be a shock, though, I think, if England went out as European champions now at this stage.
Latin America's behind Colombia, largely. So,
Sure.
Ed Batra, what's the deal with the ticket situation? Are we selling out games, or are people just trying to resell and profit? It looks like there's a good bit of both. Like, there's definitely a lot of people trying to resell and make a profit. Mi calcita, mi perucho, Ed Batra. All right, I think that does it. Unless you want to give a prediction, that's it. We'll wrap up the show with that. A prediction.
That was a third. You thought I wasn't going to knock that down. That was the third Peruvian reference there. Yeah. Complete with a salute.
Ed was the one, as the person I was referencing earlier when I said he was leaving comments in the comment section, and I wasn't able to find one and click it at the time, so I had to do it here now that he commented towards the end of the show. Prediction for Friday, Simon.
Prediction for Friday, I'm going to go with 3-1 to Inter Miami.
3-1. Okay, you stole Kyle's prediction there in the comment section. I will say 4-1. I think Inter Miami wins this one big and heads into the semifinals.
Two from Messi? 2 or 3 from Messi?
I mean, is it time for a Messi hat trick? I mean, he's on the cusp, right? 1 from Messi. Just one. Gotta hit the nail on the head. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. So we will leave it there. We'll be back next week, probably, maybe even on the weekend, depending on how the weekend plays out. Maybe. I could maybe get Jose or Andrea on. Everyone's saying hat trick Messi hat trick. People are feeling it. I mean, he's due for one. He's close. He's been getting close. But all right, we'll be back some point after Friday's game. If you're heading up to the stadium, enjoy it. We've been enjoying this, so we will continue to do it. We'll talk to you guys in a few days. Bye for now.
Bye.